Hey mama, welcome to Your Purpose Poppin'. I'm Danielle and this is your bite-sized boost to reset your mindset, release the chaos, and step back into your day with purpose and peace. Over the next few minutes, we'll get refocused, refreshed, and realigned. So let's get to it. Okay, mamas. So we are just coming off of a week where we are talking about a loss of identity, right? And I came across this quote that inspired the episode today that really kind of ties in with that, I believe. It really speaks to how that loss of identity can be so stressful to us and why that is. So this quote, I'm going to start right off with the quote, which is from Jordan Raynor. I think it's Raynor, an author who says, stress comes from unkept agreements with yourself. Stress comes from unkept agreements with yourself. So I know as moms, stress comes from a lot of different places, but I do believe that this burnout, this added stress that we are carrying around, this place that we might be sitting in where we're feeling this huge loss of identity, where we are feeling this stress before we even get started, right? That's what it is. It's this stress that already is present, this stress that comes from us not really knowing who we are anymore, us kind of losing that identity of who we were prior to children, and now coming into our own and us being at odds with maybe some agreements that we had made with ourselves, right? Maybe there were some things that we have spoken or unspoken, made agreements with ourselves that is now causing this friction. It is causing this stress. It is causing us to start out our day before anything even happens or before, the kids' stress or any stress of the day starts, we are already in stress, which then when all of the other things that start to happen, lead to this burnout, this overwhelm feeling, this decision fatigue, this just mental burden that we're carrying around that is maybe from these agreements that we have made with ourselves that are unkept. Right? Because we haven't taken the time to figure out what is important to us and why. Right? So what I'm talking about with these unkept agreements could be some big things possibly, but also could just be things that you may not even really realize, right? These are agreements that you could have made with yourself about the kind of wife that you are going to be. And now that you have kids, maybe you're not feeling like you're living up to that, or the kind of friend that you're going to be and the kind of friend that you are. And if now you have this added responsibility of these children, that you aren't able to be the kind of friend that you had been in the past, right? Like maybe you aren't calling your friends to check in on them as much anymore because you barely feel like you can stay above water, right? Maybe there are things in your life that you have made agreements with yourself that you were going to be one way or another. Like maybe one is the kind of daughter that you're going to be, right? If you have said to yourself, that you were going to be the kind of daughter that listens to her parents, that, does things the way that is in line with what your parents believe, but then what you are believing and how you are feeling compelled to raise your children, or the kind of environment that you are trying to provide is different maybe than what your parents are believing or what your in-laws are believing or things like that, then this could cause this friction and this stress, right? It could also be an agreement with yourself, like maybe you used to read a book a month, or you used to volunteer all of the time and you don't have the time to volunteer anymore. Or an example for me is I was a certain type of employee, right? Like I always considered myself a very hard worker. I always considered myself to be very diligent and determined and driven and all of these things. And once I had a child, I never, ever thought I would be a stay-at-home mom. I actually was talking to my husband about him being a stay-at-home dad prior to me having children, right? But then once I had them, I decided, you know what? I actually think I want to stay at home. And so I devised this plan of how I could be a part-time worker. And I created a position for myself at the company that I had worked at. And then once I had my second child, I then was very at odds because I was like, now I just want to stay at home altogether. Like, I don't think I want to go back to work. But in the past, I had always defined myself by my work. And so I had made this, I don't know if it was a internal agreement with myself that was the way that I don't know if that's the way that I felt worthy, but that was like a contribution. Like, I really enjoy working, right? And so it was something that took some time of me sitting down and thinking, okay, what is it that is most important to me right now? Is it working or is it being at home with my kids? And what is the way that I want to live my life? Not what does everyone else think I should do, right? What is it that I want? What do I think is best for my family, for my situation? And I truly felt like it was staying at home full time. And so that's what I decided to do. But as you know, if you know my story, it then didn't start getting better for me because I didn't ever figure out who I was now that I was a mom. And that is what is missing, right? And so I'm just going to encourage you and challenge you maybe to think about what are some agreements that you may have made with yourself in the past, right? Like before you were a mother, or maybe even once you became a mother, that you don't feel in line with. They are unkept agreements, and they are unkept for one reason or another, right? It's either by choice or it's you're being forced to not keep that agreement. And why is that? Right? Is it something that you want to change and make sure that you are now keeping that agreement? And how do you make that happen? Right? Or is it, okay, I want to take that burden of feeling like I have to keep this agreement because my life has changed now. It's different. And this is my new agreement, right? I'm going to make a new agreement with myself so that I am not causing all of this undue stress with myself. So this is my purpose pop-in for this week. I would love for you to just think about that. What are some agreements and how can you either reframe those or remake those or just cancel the agreement altogether that you had with yourself? This was a previous version of yourself, right? And now you get to move forward with maybe some new agreements for yourself as a mother. And that is likely going to look different. Okay. And if you need help with this or anything else in this motherhood journey, this journey of discovering who you are now that you are a mother, I would absolutely love to help you with that. Go to prioritizewithpurpose.com, sign up for a prioritization clarity call with me, and we will walk through this together. Okay. And I'll meet you right back here on Thursday. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, Mama. If so, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts and then hit share and send this to a mom who needs this in her day. I'll meet you right here on Thursday. Keep smiling, y'all.